driving home right now I visited Casadega tonight. And I know what the place is. I have researched it. I have been wanting to go there for a while actually now. And it kind of worked out where today I could swing by there. So I did. And I'm a little bit mixed with how I feel about it. I'm a little spooked. And usually when I go out places, that is not the case. So I'm sitting with that a little bit. But it has me thinking, when you go to specific places where people are on all kind of the same level, and in this case, I guess spiritually is what I'm assuming from all that I know, then the energy might feel a little bit different to somebody who doesn't normally operate in that environment. Even somebody who's keeping a high vibe all the time, if they're in low vibe, they've adapted to kind of deal with the depth of the disconnect. But tonight I got to experience a place where I think a lot of people spiritually are on a similar level, and I think that personally just spooked me. Maybe my ego or my conscience didn't feel safe because it was something new to me. Trying to evaluate it. Lots of synchronicities. I was supposed to be there, so something about tonight I am supposed to take away from and learn. It was for me, which is good. I would say the overall feeling that I had while I was there, well, it kind of morphed, but towards the end it was unsettling. So there's a little hotel there, and it has an attached restaurant, so that's where I was. But I had to kind of park like down the street. It was a nice little walk, but on the way back it was completely dark, and just something about the silence was a little eerie to me. I think there's definitely a difference between peaceful and like that comforting silence versus an unsettling silence, which is what I felt when I was there. I didn't really walk around and see anything. I kind of accidentally walked into the beginning of the night tour, and I could have gone with that group because it kind of would have just worked, but I decided against it because I was not really prepared for that. It would have been interesting to stay in the hotel, I think, but I didn't see anywhere to check in for that, so I was considering that when I was there, however. So that's my experience, that's my take. It was definitely interesting. I do feel like I do need to go back during the daytime, maybe a little bit more planned. I have a good also been there. And so I'm looking forward to discussing and possibly comparing our experiences and getting her thoughts on just kind of like the vibe that I got. Very interesting. It's making me think a lot, which I like, because I usually don't leave places with like tidbits of pieces of info that I need to like dissect and go through and figure out. So I'm intrigued, but there I was spooked. I was like scrambling for like, okay, where's my safety? Well, I think because it's getting dark and it's getting kind of late and I am getting tired, and I have about an hour and 15 minutes drive to get back home. So that could have been a little bit playing into it. But I definitely think people who are naturally born healers, and I'm talking about like people who work with divine beings and like light workers along these realms, it's definitely a different energetic vibration to be around these people versus to be around people who enhance and create and siphon and spread and invoke darkness into the world. I personally am used to working with souls who still have blockages that they need to ascend. So not necessarily their entire soul is negative and dark, but they have like cloudiness over their general aura. But then there are just negative and dark entities walking around in human body skin suits, which is wild to think about, but they are there. And if you've ever come into contact with one of these beings, you would know it right away. It's a very eerie, like pit of your stomach intuition feeling. It doesn't feel good on any level. Your body and your energetic field knows that things are off, and it will alert you mainly through your intuition, your third eye, but depending on how developed that is, or you may ignore it, miss it, be hypnotized by it. But I also felt very like, I'm gonna make a movie reference, but if you've ever seen Inception with Leonardo DiCaprio, it's a great movie. I love this movie. It kind of like blurs the edges of reality, but there is a moment where him and the girl he's hired to architect these dream worlds for him, they get into his subconscious while they're dreaming, and he tells her if she starts to go off the plan, basically like if she starts to exercise her free will within his consciousness, that it will attack her because it doesn't feel safe. And in the scene where I think they're like walking, she like changes some of the bridges and stuff, and it freaks everybody out, and he kind of has like a mini panic attack. So all the projections in his subconsciousness start freaking out, and they turn on her, and their eyes just lock with hers, and it's like a soulless look that she got. That scene is pretty haunting to me because I feel like that happens, like we create our reality, so that is happening all the time with people you interact with. So if your light does disturb people's darkness, you will trigger them. But I think I'm talking more of like these soulless being entities that are walking around among us. They're not human, but I don't think you would know that unless you work in the energetics, in like psychic, spiritual realms, or if you're highly attuned. So, I don't know. I felt a little bit of that going on, but I need to sit with it a little longer. I will say that I've recognized that I myself am an introverted person, but I like to be introverted outside, if that makes sense. So I'm not into big crowds or being part of big crowds. I can kind of go out into big crowds, but sometimes it's energetically overwhelming, and alone it takes me more energy to do it, just for like spiritual protection and all. So I won't normally do that, but I do like to be out a lot. Like, I'm not an introvert that hides at home. I'm definitely not the hermit. So for me, this was interesting. I have 5% battery left. Definitely an introvert that likes to be around people, but not immersed within the human, like the 3D interactions. So it's kind of interesting to sit back and watch a different plane of reality play out. So yeah, that was my experience. I'm sure if something else comes through, maybe I'll share it in a part 2. But those are my thoughts on Casadega Spiritualist Camp at night. It's about 10 o'clock. I'm about to be heading through the heart of downtown Orlando, so not that far from home. I was told today by somebody who I was encountered or connecting with that I would do very well at Cassadega because I was explaining some of my energy work to them. And right now I don't know that I agree with that, but I like when people engage with me and try to, speak my language. So I told her I do Reiki, and I didn't tell her that I do readings, but I told her I'm a therapist and I do energy work, and that's kind of